Hello viewers, and welcome to Exploring Cinema with Brian Meadows. I, of course, am Brian. So, first, before I start this review, I do want to say I am actually filming this on Mother's Day, so I just want to take a little bit of time to say Happy Mother's Day to all of you mothers out there, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Now that we're done with that, let's get on to the review. So today's review is on the little independent horror film, The Babadook. This is a film that you should experience for yourself, so this review will actually be spoiler-free. But I will go ahead and say that, actually, I'll do a better thing. So in one of my most recent videos, I actually decided a rating system, and I actually have two lightsabers, one that's owned by me, and one by my girlfriend Mallory. And one thing that I will do, if I like or love the film, I will hold up a blue lightsaber. And if it's a bad movie, or if I'm just like, I'm decently okay with it, or I don't know what that means, but I will hold up a red. So this one right here will tell you what I think of this movie. I absolutely love this film, and it's on Netflix right now, so go ahead and check it out whenever you get the chance. I am personally excited to do this review because I've never been a big horror fan, fan of horror films, and I do have tiny exceptions, and The Babadook is one of them. I had heard many critics and fans rave on about this film, but I never got the urge to see it because, like I said, I don't really care for horror. But then Mallory came into my life, and she kept begging me to watch it, and I thought, you know what, I like this girl, and I'm gonna actually watch this with her, because this was when we had first met. I think we were only dating for like barely a month. And so now, I have a new favorite movie to watch every Halloween. The film takes place in about southern Australia and follows the story of Amelia Vanek and her son Samuel. One day Amelia reads a book to Samuel that he randomly found in their house with the title Mr. Babadook, which contains scary imagery and tells the story of the Babadook, who comes into your house if you let him in. So the entire cast, whether it's lead or supporting cast, they all did a fantastic job in this film. But I will just focus on the two main leads for right now. The first one is Essie Davis. She plays Amelia Vanek. She's a troubled widow and the film's main protagonist. Her character goes through a very rough time. She's still grieving for the death of her husband after 6 or 7 years. And her son is becoming increasingly difficult. He is a bad child. Like, just, I'll explain a little bit more once I get to his part. But Davis is fucking phenomenal in this film. She gave such a real performance, showing off a wide range of emotions, from sadness, happiness, anger, terror, and honestly, the list goes on. She was amazing in this. Her performance was indeed Oscar-worthy, but sadly she did not receive even a nomination for her portrayal from the Academy. Noah Wiseman plays Samuel Vanek, Amelia's son, and this kid is very unlikable at the start. Or, the character, I mean. Noah does a really good job playing him, but like I said, Samuel is very unlikable. He's extremely loud, strange, he speaks his mind way too easily, and he has these random outbursts where he's just screaming at the top of his lungs. And one of the first times that I watched it, I actually turned up the sound. So one of the first scenes that he's in, he's just screaming and it almost blew out my ears. But this kid even creates homemade weapons to combat the monsters that he has created in his head, as well as the Babadook. He is said to suffer from behavioral problems, but there's no real diagnosis given in the film, so I feel like the exact reason why he is the way he is perhaps something that should be up to the audience's own interpretation. But, as I said, Noah played the role very well, though his acting was a little choppy at times, and a couple of times I did catch him looking at the camera accidentally, and sometimes his facial expressions don't match the emotions that he should be feeling in certain scenes. But all in all, he gave one of my favorite child performances in recent years. As for the script itself, there's no other word to use for the script other than masterful. It's not your standard horror film. Actually, I wouldn't even really call it a horror film necessarily. To me, it felt more like a psychological thriller with a good amount of horror elements. And this is also not your standard monster movie. It's also a story about grief and depression. When you go into this film, there's two ways that audiences can actually see this film as. They can watch it and see it as just an interesting, really interesting monster horror film. But then everyone else can just watch it and watch out for the symbolism and metaphorical imagery to see that this film has a lot more depth to it than what's on the surface. And they will realize it's a much smarter movie than it appears to be. One brilliant thing about this film is in the special effects. Everything that it does is almost, One brilliant thing about this film is in the special effects. Everything that's done is almost completely practical. Actually, I think, if I'm wrong, everything was practical, especially the creature, the Babadook. And if I had to stretch it, I would say maybe there's 1 or 2 instances with CGI, but it was so natural that it didn't look like CGI, so I'm just gonna put that as a maybe. And the look of the creature was mostly created through puppetry and stop-motion effects, and it made the Babadook feel more like a real entity, and it made the entire experience of watching him more frightening for me. The film also used naturalistic light during the filming, and that in turn also made it look even more realistic, which really helped make the cinematography even more amazing, and, like I keep saying this, it helped instill terror. It helped instill terror in the creature because you couldn't fully see what he looked like. You do get glimpses every once in a while, but mostly you get silhouettes, and even in the book that they find, they show kind of what the Babadook looks like physically, but they don't really show it on camera. But because of the natural lighting, nothing sticks out. There is no bright light, whether inside the house, outdoors, or even at her workplace. And Mallory actually believes that this is because Amelia doesn't go looking for the better qualities in life, and honestly, I'm inclined to agree with that. And speaking of cinematography, the film does not focus on jump scares like your run-of-the-mill scary movie, which is, the jump scares are part of the reason why I do not like older movies. Honestly, the only movies that I've seen that were actually able to still scare me, even with jump scares, are anything that's made by James Wan or produced by him, because those, they're just able to do a bit more than just focus on jump scares, and they're not as predictable. But like I said, instead of focusing on the jump scares, it instead focuses on the more simple yet dreary environment and atmosphere seen from Amelia's perspective. The last 2 things that I want to mention, which also helped the film become near perfect, are the sound design and the musical score. Now, let's start with the sound. Sound plays a big role in telling the story, and it's also used in place of music to instill whatever emotion the story wants us to feel, using things like the Babadook's knocking, because he likes to knock on the door and stuff. You have to watch the movie. But I can't speak. The Babadook's movements, and the sounds of cockroaches to imbue fear and terror into the audience. And then lastly, we have the musical score. The use of a score is very limited in this film, and I felt that it helped increase the terrifying nature of everything going on. Just the scenes without music were the scariest to me. To recap, The Babadook is a near-perfect film with a tremendous performance from the lead actress, and I'm talking, I'd say, Kate Blanchett, Meryl Streep level. I am actually being serious about this. I think that she is that amazing. A wonderful supporting cast, masterful storytelling, and gloomy environments that can help instill fear and despair, and not to mention the fact that I actually love the Babadook. I love the creature. I think that this is one of the greatest horror films ever made. Maybe, yes, okay, I will say that. It's one of the greatest films made in recent years, and I will actually say that I think, in my opinion, it was one of the greatest horror movies ever made. And this film deserves to be seen and enjoyed, and like I said, this is a great movie. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to me ramble on about this movie. Now, I must ask you, what did you guys think of the Babadook? Did you love it, hate it, were you indifferent, you haven't seen it yet, etc.? It doesn't matter, I want to know your thoughts. I welcome new perspectives. Hell, I even want to hear your theories on the symbolism and metaphorical imagery found, so please write your theories in the comments section and I would love to discuss some of them with you. For ways to support the channel, check in the description below. I have my I have the Facebook page for this channel. I have a Patreon page. And also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel for more reviews and content. There is always more to come. Thank you all once again for watching, and farewell until the next time.